Good morning, children. Sairam. A very warm welcome back to the English online class. Let's continue the chapter Mudgeville the Otter by Gavin Maxwell. So, children, when we were talking about Midgeville, the interesting creature, the little otter, so what did you find that the otter was a friendly creature or it was a creature which created hassle as well as difficulties for the narrator? Yes or no? Let us find the answer. Let's continue the chapter. So, let's switch to the NCERT English textbooks. So, children, let's get back to the textbook so that the continuity and the connection does not ends up. Okay, let's continue from the first, third, fourth line. For the first 24 hours, Miswell was neither hostile nor friendly. He was simply aloof and indifferent, choosing to sleep on the floor as far from my bed as possible. The second night, Miswell came onto my bed in, in the small hours and remained asleep in the crook of my knees until the servant brought tea in morning, and during the day he began to lose his apathy and take a keen, much too keen interest in his surroundings. What is the meaning of apathy, children? Absence of interest. I repeat, what is the meaning of apathy, children? Means absence of interest. I made a body belt for him and took him on a lead to the bathroom, where for half an hour he went wild with joy in the water, plunging and rolling in it, shooting up and down the length of the bathtub underwater, and making enough slosh and splash for a hippo. This was I to learn is a characteristic feature of otter. Every drop of water must be, so to speak, extended and spread about the place. A bowl must at once be overturned, or if it will not be overturned, be sat in and splashed in until it overflows. Water must be kept on the move and made to do things. When static, it is wasted and provoking. Now, what happens with what is the one characteristic feature that the narrator Gavin Maxwell comes to observe? The one characteristic feature is that the otters love to get deep into the splashing of the water. They love to play with water and love to spend time in water, whether it is swimming, playing with the water waves, anything. This was one thing. And one more thing was that Mizbil, that is the otter, at first he was not so familiar. He did not get frank for the first time. And neither he was hostile also. He was just aloof and indifferent. He just kept his pace. That is, he did not jump into any expression, and he simply observed and slowly made bond with Gavin Maxwell. 2 days later, Nuzbel escaped from my bedroom as I entered it, and I turned to see his tail disappearing round the bed of the corridor that led to the bathroom. By the time I got there, he was up on the end of the bathtub and fumbling at the chromium taps with his paws. What is the meaning of fumbling, children? Trying to do something in a clumsy manner. Flick, a quick light or movement. A quick light movement. Yes. 2 days later, Mujbil escaped from my bedroom as I entered it, and I turned to see and I turned to see his tail disappearing round the bed of the corridor that led to the bathroom. By the time I got there, he was up on the end of the bathtub and fumbling at the chromium taps with his paws. I watched, amazed. In less than a minute, he had turned the tap far enough to produce a trickle of water, and after a moment or two, achieved the full flow. He had been lucky to turn up the tap right way. On later occasions, he would sometimes screw it up still tighter, chittering with irritation and disappointment at the tap's failure to cooperate. Very soon, Midge would follow me without a lead and come to me when I called his name. He spent most of his time in play. He spent hours shuffling a rubber ball round the room like a four-footed saucer player, using all 4 feet to dribble the ball, and he could also throw it with a powerful flick of the neck to a surprising height and distance. But the real play of an otter is when he lies on his back and juggles with small objects between his paws. Marbles were Mid's favorite toys for this pastime. He would lie on his back, rolling 2 or more of them up and down his wide, flat belly without ever dropping one to the floor. So, children, when we are talking about the Midgebill, the small little creature, and a prominent feature has again struck us, let's have that prominent feature of Midgebill. That Midge actually liked. These are the set of lines that Midge famous games. His famous games were shuffling. Like first thing, Midge would follow me without a lead and come to me when I called his name. First thing. Second thing, most of the time he loved to play. Then third thing, he spent hours shuffling a rubber ball round the room like a four-footed soccer. And then he dribbled the ball as well. He could throw it with a powerful flick of neck. Then he loved to juggle with small objects between his paws. Mid's marble favorite Mid's favorite toys were marbles, playing with marbles. He would like to play with the marbles, and he really enjoyed rolling them, scrolling them, juggling them, and dropping one to the floor. That it he did not, you can say, he did not miss even single marble. That is, he did not drop even a single marble on the floor while playing with it. The days passed peacefully at Basra, but I dreaded the prospect of transporting Mitch to England and to Chemisphenia. The British airline to London would not fly animals, so I booked a flight to Paris on another airline and from there to London. The airline insisted that Mitch should be packed into a box not more than 18 inches square to be carried on the floor at my feet. I had a box made an hour before we started. I put Mitch into the box so that he could become accustomed to it and left for a hurried meal. When I returned, there was an appalling spectacle. There was complete silence from the box, but from its air holes and chinks around the lid, blood had trickled and dried. I whipped off the lock and tore open the lid, and Midge, exhausted and blood spattered, whimpered and caught at my leg. He had torn the lining of the box to shreds. When I removed the last of it so that there were no cutting edges, The author says, see, this is an illustration that shows Mitchell that when I returned, there was an appalling spectacle. There was complete silence from the box, but from its air holes and chinks around the lid, blood had trickled and dried. I whipped off the lock and tore open the lid. By this, all representation you can it is and it will be clear to you that this small tiny creature was actually so exhausted that it did not want to stay in that box, and somehow it managed to come out of the box, peep out of the box. He, what furthermore the narrator says, Mitch, exhausted and blood spattered, whimpered and caught at my leg. He had torn the lining of the box to shreds. When I removed the last of it so that there were no cutting edges left, it was just 10 minutes until the time of the flight, and the airport was 5 miles distant. I put the miserable Mitch back into the box, holding down the lid with my hand. Now, what actually happened over here, that the author actually did not expect Mitch to become or behave in such a ridiculous manner. Though he was a creature, he maintained his ethics, but still, the problem is you cannot keep a tiny creature locked in a box for too long. What happened next? Mitch back into the box, and I put the miserable Mitch back into the box, holding down the lid with my hand. I sat in the back of the car. I sat in the back of the car with the box beside me as the driver tore through the streets of Basra like a ricocheting bullet. The aircraft was waiting to take off. I rushed through it by infuriated officials. Luckily, the seat booked for me was at the extreme front. I covered the floor around my feet with newspapers, rang for the air hostess, and gave her a parcel of fish for Midge to keep in a cool place. I took her into my confidence about the events of the last half hour. I have retained the most profound admiration for that air hostess. She was the very queen of her kind. She suggested that I might prefer to have my pet on my knee and could have kissed her hand in the depth of my gratitude. But not knowing otters, I was quite unprepared for what followed. Mitch was out of the box in a splash. He disappeared at high speed down the aircraft. There were squawks and shrieks, and a woman stood up on her seat, screaming out, "A rat! A rat!" I caught sight of Mid's tail disappearing beneath the legs of a portly white turbaned Indian. Diving for it, I missed, but found my face covered in curry. "Perhaps," said the air hostess, with the most charming smile, "it would be better if you resumed your seat, and I will find the animal and bring it to you." I returned to my seat and was craning as my neck was trying to follow the hunt when suddenly I heard from my feet a distraught chitter of recognition and welcome. And Mitch bounded onto my knee and began to nuzzle my face and my neck. Mitch and I remained in London for nearly a month. He would play for us with a selection of toys, ping pong balls. Yes, he would play for us with a selection of toys, ping pong balls, marbles, rubber fruit, and a terrapin shell that I had brought back from his native marshes. Native marshes. With the ping pong ball, he invented a game of his own, which could keep him engrossed for up to half an hour at a time. A suitcase that I had taken to Iraq had become damaged on the journey home, so that the lid, when closed, remained at a slope from one end to the other. Midge discovered that if he placed the ball on the high end, it would run down the length of the suitcase. He would dash around the other end to ambush its arrival, hide from it, crouching to spring up and take it by surprise, grab it and trot off with it to the high end once more. Outside the house, I exercised on him on a lead, precisely as if I had been a dog. Mitch quickly developed certain impulsive habits on these walks in the London streets, like the rituals of children who, on their way to and from school, must place their feet squarely on the center of each paving block, must touch every seventh upright of the iron railings, or pass to the outside of every second lamppost. Opposite to my flat was a single storied primary school, along whose frontage ran a low wall some 2 feet high. On his way home, but never on his way out, Midge would tug me to this wall, jump on it, and gallop the full length of his 30 yards, to the hopeless distraction both of pupils of staff within. It is not, I suppose, in any way strange that the average Londoner should not recognize an otter, but the variety of guesses as to what kind of animal this might be came as a surprise to me. Otters belong to a comparatively small group of animals. I repeat, children, otters belong to a comparatively small group of animals called muslins. I repeat, muslins shared by badger, mongoose, weasel, stoat, mink, and others. I faced I faced a continuous barrage of conjectural questions that sprayed all the muslins with otter. More random guesses hit on a baby seal and a squirrel. Is that a walrus, mister? Reduced me to giggles. Obviously, how can a tiny object be a walrus? Do you know what is a walrus, children? Children, walrus is a huge sea mammal, and it looks like a, you can say, a pan. Its mouth is just like, you can say it's huge. It has a soft and shiny, slippery skin with two big white teeth. Tusks, actually, not teeth. Fine. Let's get back. Then what happened? I repeated myself that what kind of ideology the people had. This was the expression of the narrator. And why was it? Just because of the small fact of an otter appealed like a walrus to some of the people of London. Now, what actually was there? Okay, I will repeat this line. Is that a walrus, mister? Reduced me to giggles. And outside a dog show, I heard a hippo, a beaver, a bear cub, a leopard, one apparently that had changed its spots, not a bronzo, which was anything but an otter. But the question for which I awarded the highest score came from a laborer digging a hole in the street. I was still far from him when he laid down his tool, put his hands on his hips, and began to stare. As I drew nearer, I saw his expression of surprise and affront, as though he would have me know that he was not one upon whom to play jokes. I came abreast of him. He spat, glared, and then growled out, "Here, mister, what is that supposed to be?" This was a very interesting story. Hopefully, you must have enjoyed. Well, when it comes to enjoying, then enjoying a story needs to be discussed in a very brief context, right? Before ending or saying that I have finished this chapter, I want to give you a small note of discussion, that what was the story about, what you have understood, and what was the conclusion. So, this story, Mitchell the Otter, is a story of the narrator as well as a small tiny creature called an otter. When Mitchell was expected to come, the narrator could not figure out that whether his decision will prove right or wrong. But the reason which actually made a craving for a pet animal was the demise of his pet dog Jenny. That is why the author Gavin Maxwell, yes, the author as well as the narrator Gavin Maxwell decided to keep a pet animal. But Otter was a different choice. Otter came in a strange packet, in a strange packing, isn't it? You receive pet animals in different packages. Some are received in boxes, some are in cage, but this mammal, this little creature, came in a sack from two orphans. This particular creature, little otter, cute little Mitch, was aloof and indifferent. He was not hostile, he was not very friendly or frank. It stood there, he slept aloof first, realized, initialized, observed things, and then slowly brought forward the hand of friendship with Maxwell. Though he had a, you can say, enthusiasm and excitement for water. He was very excited to play with water. He wanted to be in the water for long durations. But on the other hand, he had a different serene as well as grounded bond with Maxwell. Maxwell decided to shift from his native place, from Basra to London, and the people of London could not understand what actually was Midge, actually, what creature actually Midge was. Midge actually was an otter. Some called him seal, some called him as walrus, some addressed him as a tiny little creature. So the author did not care about him. The bond between author as well as author Gavin Maxwell and the little otter Midge, big stayed forever, and the Maxwell did not worry about how the people reacted to his choice. So, children, this chapter gets winded up over there. Thank you, and Sairam will meet in the next class. I hope you have understood this chapter very clearly. And one more important announcement or instruction and for you all children, that there are some chapters that are deleted in NCERT by CBSE, but the CBSE guidelines say that we have to teach the lessons. There is no harm in learning anything, children. There is no harm in reading something to actually furbish your vocabulary. There's no harm to learn anything. Whether chapters are whatever has been deleted, it is okay. But there are some chapters, but the chapters have to be taught according to the CBSE guidelines. I hope you will not find it as a burden. Thank you, and Saira.